Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the podcast. Today we have our realtor friend Dan, who actually helped us get our home that we bought this year.
It's our first home.
Our very first home. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Happy to have you on. Like I said, thank you for helping us get this home. We actually weren't looking to buy a home until a couple months ago, when our lease went up.
Yeah,
and
it all happened so fast.
It really did.
And
Dan was the person.
A lot of questions for Dan along the way because we were just like, okay, I guess this is happening.
We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
But you guys were also the perfect clients because you had all your stuff in order.
Yeah.
I mean, if you told us to sign something, we signed it.
Yeah,
like, we're just
okay,
like, I trust you.
I guess that helps too when you trust, like when your clients are very super easy.
There's a lot to sign.
Yeah. So, so Dan's going to talk to us about, what to look for when you're buying a home, and just the process of, how do we go from like looking to finally, showing, and then, how do you actually close? What do we need to bring? Do we need to bring money to the closing?
I mean, we have a few questions.
Not always.
Yeah. And, like us, like we were actually grateful. Yeah. We didn't have to.
But first, Dan, introduce yourself. Who are you? How long have you been doing this? How did you get into this?
Okay. So I'm Dan, as you guys know. And I've been around construction for a while. And I think that kind of like sparked my interest in real estate, actually. So I did air conditioning like when I was 15 years old. And one of my brothers is a general contractor. My brother-in-law is a general contractor. And I've been around a lot of different houses, different layouts, and I've seen just the potential that houses can have. Yeah. And I really like that. And as I was going for my bachelor's degree with Jericho.
Yeah, we actually went to the same school and the
had
same
a couple
program
same
and everything. Yeah, we killed it.
And so from there, pretty much I decided we were a single family income with only my wife working. And I decided, all right, while I'm going to school, I want to have like some kind of side hustle, some kind of money coming in. Mm-hmm. So I decided to take real estate, realtor class, which was 3.5 years ago.
So how long is that class? Sorry.
So it's 64-hour class.
Okay.
So they like legit
it's
make
per
sure
hour.
you have
do
your
you
hours.
Take it at your own pace, or do they have to go?
No, I took it at FSCJ, and they met twice a week for I believe like 3 hours.
You can do that
session.
at night.
Yeah, it was nighttime.
Okay.
Yeah,
and it's not too pricey. Like
no, I think it was like around $200 when I took it, like $250 something like that.
Wow.
But then
for
that's for the
class.
course.
Oh, for the course.
And then there's a bunch of other fees that get involved with like licensing.
And there's a big test, right?
Yeah.
At the end.
So apparently it's like a 50% success rate for
the
first time.
It's really hard.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, and then if you don't pass your first time, you end up taking it like 3 times at least. So they say like if you fail, your chances are even lower. Which, you know.
So did you pass on your first?
I passed.
That's why he's our realtor. That's why you got us to close in 30 days. Yeah. Hard worker. Okay, cool.
So I got my realtor's license. That was awesome. To get it. It was just interesting. The whole process was really interesting. Learning about the houses, I actually like the details of it, the numbers of it, like what the contracts say, kind of like loopholes a little bit, because there's so much. Like you're signing it, a bunch of pages, and like, what does this mean? They word it all kinds of interesting ways. So I really liked looking into that and like past lawsuits and cases that they had against people and why they modified the contract and changed it and everything. So I really enjoyed the whole licensing part. And then I thought, okay, I'm gonna get my realtor's license. Everything's gonna go so smooth. I'm gonna have a bunch of clients. But that was not the case.
No.
You actually have to go out there.
That was not the case.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So when you got your license and then you just signed up to be a part of a company, or how does that work?
Yes. So as soon as you get your realtor's license, you have to go underneath a firm, underneath a company. It's called brokerage. And so I went originally under Berkshire Hathaway. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I worked with them, and why I signed up with them was because they had a really good training program. Okay. And they had like a lot of their top agents and a lot of their they call them like associate brokers, people that lead the office. They have a bunch of different offices. Yeah. Okay. And so they'd like come and talk to you about real estate and just different types of tips and everything. And so I took them. It was really good, but I wasn't too satisfied with the commission split.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of important, right?
Yeah. So then I closed a couple houses with them. Then I switched over to Florida Homes Realty and Mortgage, where I am now.
Okay.
And I really like it there, and I have a really good relationship with one of the associate brokers. Like I call him anytime, picks up the phone, any questions. He has a lot of experience. So like any legal issues, anything that's like seems a little tricky, how do we word these things into contracts to make sure the client is safe, you know?
But they don't find you clients, right?
They don't.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you are running your own business.
Yeah, you are self-employed.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's how that
Yeah.
works, like tax-wise?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So 1099, you're self-employed. And so that's the gist there. You have to look for your own clients. They'll offer like websites and places they partner with that you can, get leads in, but it's like paid leads and stuff like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Similar to like, the Knot and Wedding Wire for us, because it's a website that we pay for.
Yeah,
to be a part
but
of partnership.
the company still takes something, right?
Yeah.
Because you're under them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's honestly, it's very reasonable. It's like, was it 0.02 of the purchase price. So it ends up being like 6%. And then like some other fees and office fees, which is really good for realtor commissions.
Okay.
But yeah, man. I'm sorry, all you other brokers. But yeah,
Hey, they're gonna see like
Shout
an
out.
influx of like realtors come.
But hey,
work for
Florida
you
Homes
with
Realty
you.
and Mortgage, is where it's at.
Yeah.
So
That's
okay, so you've been
awesome.
with them. So my biggest thing, like, I had no idea like how easy the process was of like buying a home.
We probably had it easy. I don't know if it's
I don't
for
know about
everyone.
everyone else, but I wasn't expecting to go from, hey, I'm looking for a house, to, hey, we're closing in 30 days.
Like literally.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was the fastest I went
was
from
the
a client to
fastest?
closing. Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
Actually, except my own house.
Oh, okay. You
Oh,
beat
yeah,
us.
because you did the whole
Auction home.
Auction
But it
home.
was a
Okay.
financed auction home,
Okay.
which is like
never
it's
heard of.
never
yeah.
heard of, and they don't
Mhm.
want to give it to you because they're like, oh, there's no way you'll close in 14 days,
Yeah.
like 21 days. I don't really remember, but yeah, I was up on the phone talking to Indian companies, Indian title companies, and yeah, we made it work.
Yeah.
As long as a good realtor is one that is able to communicate with all the different parts,
Yeah.
with the
So
title
what's
company,
the
loan
standard
officers.
time? You're first time buyer, we had a VA loan, so ours was a little different, but standard people, first time buyer, how long can they expect from looking to signing if all goes well and it's not like a
and if you're like
tricky
buyers,
house?
because I'm sure like if the buyers are constantly signing, but I think you do a good job of communicating, hey, I sent you, this contract to look over to sign, and like as soon as you sent that to me, I was on it.
Yeah.
And then
You guys were really fast.
What's nice is that everything's all mobile now,
And it's
Yeah.
text, which
and
is
it's
so
all
cool.
text. So as soon as you sent the contract, I got on my phone, I looked over it, I sent it, then Christina looked at it, and she sent it over, and it was so fast.
Yeah.
Like had I known,
We did
this-
everything on our phones.
Yeah.
Like literally
Had I
everything you
known
said.
this
Like,
process would have been so fast, we probably would have bought a house.
yeah,
sooner. I'm not gonna lie.
for real. We
I was so
prolonged
scared.
it.
We were so scared. Like
We're
I
like, what are
didn't
the
want to
rates?
commit.
And then do we both need work history? Like we didn't know how that was working because Jericho is self-employed too.
Yeah.
So we knew that, I don't know. But because we didn't ask questions,
Yeah.
we just put it off. Like
And we
that's
just
not happening.
assumed.
And that's honestly one of my favorite things about doing real estate.
Yeah.
Is demystifying the process.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like I feel like bringing clarity into real estate is what I like, because when we first bought our first house, I had a realtor that did kind of absolutely nothing, and I didn't know what to expect of him either. So I didn't
Yeah.
know he was doing a bad job, So, but I was scared. I was scared and hesitant to even call a realtor because I'm like, all right, who pays this guy? What does he expect?
Yeah.
Like, how does this work? What does he offer? And so we kind of just went and saw a bunch of houses on our own. Like drive up, look through the windows, try to like get information on the layouts,
Yeah.
or like call the agent over there, like on the listing. They'd have like a yard sign, and so I'd call them like, hey, can I see your house? And they're like, do you have an agent? I'm like, oh no, I don't. And sometimes if it's a combination, they'd let you in or whatever, but sometimes they'd come out and show you the house. But if you have your own realtor, then you just give them a search criteria. They'll show you everything if it's your results. You schedule a process. You guys go see the houses.
Yeah.
So typically, what's that time frame
So the time frame
for most of your clients you've had?
So see the issue, I guess, most of the time is the viewing, like showing the houses and how decisive they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
The process itself from contract to close is 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
That's pretty standard.
Just finding the house.
Yeah,
and-
just finding the house.
Being
Sometimes
happy
you'll
with
have
it.
people that they'll change what they're looking for
once
in
they
the
get in
process.
there.
But honestly, I encourage for you to see a couple houses because you don't know what you don't like.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh
know?
yeah, we went through that.
Yeah.
I walked in one and I was like, nope.
And you
And
don't
we
even,
left.
And you don't even know what it's about until you get there and you're like,
Yeah.
this just doesn't feel
Well, 'cause,
right.
like,
you know?
look good.
pictures are
it might look good on
deceiving.
photos.
Yeah.
But when you get in there, you
Or, like,
smell the
smells.
place.
I know
And
exactly
you're
which
like,
house you're talking
"Oh,
about.
I don't want to deal
Well,
with
like
that.
we don't have a dog or an animal, so to us that was we walked in and you can smell that they had a pet. So for us, we're like, okay, yep, nope, not happening. So, for different people, it's different things.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen
Yeah.
a lot of those situations.
Yeah, a lot of houses that need some work, and sometimes that scares people off, and others they're like, oh, okay, I could probably save some money potentially here.
Yeah.
So you have like different clientele.
Yeah.
But so the standard from contract to close, 30 to 45 days.
Okay.
The showing process, I've had clients that have been looking like months on and off, like they'll want to go see, and then for a couple months they don't, and then like they're kind of like seeing if they can find that perfect deal.
Yeah. And so do you like limit them, like how many houses because you have to go every single time with
I
them.
try to schedule. So this is my thing. I try to schedule multiple houses. Like
In a
people
day.
people think that that's maybe inconveniencing.
Yeah.
That I'll just show you one. Here's this one house
Yeah.
that I want to look at. But honestly, for the agent, it's a lot better if they can schedule like 5 houses.
Yeah,
In
in
a
one
day.
day.
In
'cause then
one
you're
day.
Because
saving-
like that was
Because-
me. Every time Jericho's like, we're looking at this, I'm like, are you sure that's okay with Dan? Like,
Yeah, I was like, hey, he's the one that said it. He said, hey, are you okay looking at these 5 houses? And I'm like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Because I'm good.
Because
you know?
it's easier to block out that period of
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and
Totally
you're
makes
able
sense.
to go show them, and when they see multiple houses at a time, they're able to narrow down, and then you as the agent, you're able to, from that experience, from that day, figure out what they actually liked and what they didn't like. So in that one day, they see 5 different houses, you're like, okay, then I won't show them these type of houses anymore. They don't like the smaller layout. They like the
Okay.
open floor plan. They don't like the walls.
And what I liked about like in the very beginning, because I came to you like, hey, we're looking to rent another place, and you actually helped us set up this whole search thing, and you were emailing us every night, like here's the possible rentals. And then I just, was like, wow, Jacksonville is getting really expensive to rent, So I was like, hey, can you punch me in some numbers on,
like potential,
like what house can I afford? And, Dan actually sat down that night, got these numbers for me, and I was like, wow, that's super affordable and super reasonable. So it essentially went from that. It went from we were looking to rent.
Yeah.
And then I said, hey, Dan, can you punch some numbers for me? Like how much would I pay for my mortgage, blah, blah, blah. And then he found me a max cap, what I can afford. And I was like, wow, yeah, I can definitely afford that. Let's definitely go and do the buying thing.
He broke it down to like monthly payments. So that was helpful too. Cause renting, you're used to just monthly payments. Like, okay, how much is this? Like we know what we pay currently. And if it's a little bit more, then we can pull it. But if it's like,
if
double.
it was drastically, larger than what we're paying in rent, then obviously I couldn't afford it. But, that really helped me a lot.
Because in our minds, we were just like, no, we can't afford it. Like,
I thought
I don't know. It
I
was like
can't-
this hidden, like unknown number, like just out there that was unspoken.
I didn't know mortgage. I had no idea like mortgage could be the same as, we were paying in rent. I was like, yeah, then why don't we just buy a house?
You can actually go on a bit here with rent.
Yeah.
So rent in Jacksonville over the last 9 years has shot up from average 2-bedroom rent. It was about $750 now to $1,285.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's in the last 9 years.
Wow.
It shot up. What was it like? Let me hear. I have it here somewhere. I thought
See,
we'd get
Dan
on
loves
rent.
numbers, guys. Like he is a numbers man.
And see, I'm a numbers person too. I think that's why it went, so well.
Because that's crazy.
Yeah.
He was able to send me
is
like
crazy.
Excel sheets on if I were to pay off my house or if I were to make extra payments, it would cut my,
Go straight to principal.
go straight to principal and
Yep.
cut. I could save so much money in interest if I just made double payments.
Yeah.
And he sent me those Excel files because that's the stuff I love to look at too. So that really helped me out. And I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely do this. So
what advice do you have for people right now that are looking to buy maybe their first home or maybe just they're transitioning? Like, what is advice? What do they need to look for? What's the first step? Like, what do you do?
First step, people say go get pre-approved.
Okay.
But even before that, I think you should talk to a realtor because he'll be able to suggest different lenders.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because
And-
we asked you. we're like, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that way he'll be able to, even the realtor will be able to sit down and work backwards for me. Like, for example, maximum I can pay every month is $1,500. And then you have to work back from that.
Okay.
Versus people are like, oh, I could afford $200,000, but then they don't take into consideration taxes. They don't take into consideration insurance, all these other things.
Mm-hmm.
But if you could tell me what your maximum amount is, then we could work backwards. Then we could see what the HOA might be, what all those numbers would be.
It's exactly what you did for us. And I was like, whoa. We can do this.
If you can break it down backwards, you know?
You reverse engineer it. It's like, it's way easier. It's not as scary as you really think. You know, like I always thought it was like, oh man, buying a house and being locked in such a long time. I'm like, that's throwing my life away. You know, like I'm like, it's not that bad. You know, and it's actually we enjoy this place so much. You know, and
we did a few cosmetic things, but nothing major.
But it was already ready to move in, and it feels homey already.
So right now, from your experience, are more people buying homes like this, like we did, where it's like ready to move in, or a lot of people renovating in Jacksonville specifically? Like
more houses are available that are ready to move in, and there's a lot of houses, but most sales are single-family pre-owned homes, like to move-in condition.
Yeah,
we do have a lot of new construction, but it's still small. Even though you see construction everywhere, it's a much smaller percentage of sales actually are new construction compared to resale.
So you did a complete reno, your first home. Would you recommend that to other people?
No, not for everyone.
No,
not for everyone. Okay. Honestly,
especially if you have kids. Don't be trying to.
Yeah. So we had a deadline. We had a deadline. We found out we were pregnant. We started shopping for a house. And we didn't have a lot of money, so we're like, all right, this is our top dollar. Yeah. And we worked backwards. What can we afford in payments? We found this house, and man, we got some interesting looks from people when they first saw our house.
I mean, I was one of them. I was like, okay, Neil,
how you gonna make it work?
Christina is the one. See, I'm always. I see the.
I could not see the potential. I'm not gonna lie. I could not. I was like, all right, you are due any day, and you're like, I walked into the house, and I think you guys were like moving a door or installing a door,
everything. Like we took out the sliding door. We changed the windows, siding, roof, all the flooring, gutted the kitchen, like changed all the faucets, bathrooms, vanities, like literally everything.
It wasn't just
it looks great now.
Like paint.
It looks really good now.
Yeah.
So. Equity.
No, definitely.
But I do not recommend that to everybody. No. For sure, because people see HGTV and they get it done in an hour. It does not take an hour, or like half an hour. Yeah. So it's definitely a process, and you have to. And where you save money is if you're able to do things yourself, honestly. Because if you keep outsourcing a lot of things, yes, you will potentially, but you can also end up almost breaking even and losing a lot of time. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we could have done it.
No,
because
that's not my thing. Especially not right now.
Not right now. We were so busy. I was just like, hey, Dan, I need a place we can move in right now so I can move my office to a new office and just start, continue editing and
I was like,
keep up with the business.
It can be 2 or 3 bedrooms. I don't really care, but it has to be move-in ready. Like, I am not changing anything right now. Yeah. And he found it. We are here. I mean, we changed this wall. Do you remember what color this was?
Is it that one?
No,
no, I don't remember.
You don't remember?
It was a blue. It was like a light blue. Remember they had like this nautical theme going on in here?
In the corners a little
over
bit.
There?
But we
don't look at the corner. Hey.
What corners? Those are perfect.
We're not painters.
Yeah. Hey, I did paint this wall, but I think it looked pretty good.
So you mentioned a little bit of like debunking stuff. So what are some myths?
Okay, so top myths. People think that they need 20% to purchase a home.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
we definitely
thought that too.
We thought that.
Everybody thinks that you need 20% down, otherwise you can't get in a house.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Okay.
You can get in a house for as low as 3% and VA loan. 0%.
Yeah.
Speaking of Veterans Day, shout out to this guy. Thank you, sir, for your service.
Yeah.
And so with a VA loan, as low as 0% and literally like no money up front, just like a couple. Well, there's some fees.
Yeah.
But you could even finance those into your loan.
Okay.
And so on a conventional loan, you can go as low as 3%, and so 3%, 5%, and then FHA as low as 3.5%.
So what are these FHAs and so
conventional loan is like a regular loan, and versus FHA, it's a government-backed loan.
Yeah. Got it. Okay.
And so they have just different requirements as far as
depending
how you get approved.
Credit.
Yes,
scores
and FHA actually it's easier to get with a lower credit score versus a conventional loan.
Got it. Yeah. So people should really be working on their credit scores. Is what you're saying?
That's another thing. People think that you need a perfect credit score, which you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
Oh.
Okay. So what's like the minimum you need?
So minimum for FHA is like 580.
Oh.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the people spending their money on that. Hey.
And
you can get one too.
for conventional, I gotta jot it down over here. It's like 620 or so.
Okay.
Oh.
And but everybody used to assume that you need 700, 720 to get into a
Again,
house.
that was us
Yeah.
too.
We
So-
thought we needed 20%. We needed 800, credit history.
Yeah.
We thought we needed everything to be paid off. We thought we needed to be working, 10 years. Like especially because I was using my GI Bill and going to school, so I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna be able to get into a house.
Yeah.
But no, we managed to get into a house.
Yeah.
See, and asking questions, that's where it's
Yeah,
at. Because like everyone think, and
Yeah.
that was me too. That was me before I got into real estate. It's this mystic thing. Somehow people get houses, but I'll never get one.
Somehow the realtor gets paid.
Yeah.
And
Oh, that's
I don't
another
know,
one. How do
like-
realtors get paid?
Yeah.
So people think that's another myth. So people think that if they, I guess, don't use a realtor, then they're going to save money on their house.
Mm.
And so the myth behind that is the realtor helps you negotiate the process, like negotiate your home, make sure that you're getting what this house is worth, that you're not overpaying.
Yeah.
And they'll do that by giving you comparables of recent sales in the area of the similar homes. And so that way you know what you should come in at your offer, and they could work in any seller concessions, anything you need into your contract. And also a realtor will then
You're
Yeah,
good.
no, you definitely like when you were suggesting like all the stuff, hey, they should fix this, they should fix that.
I was like, no, it's
I'm
okay.
good, man. I'm good with it. But no, you were like, no, we should at least send it and then get
the response.
the response. And yeah, they definitely fixed the toilet.
I mean, it was like
downstairs.
minor, like little things, and I was like, no, it's okay. We can.
Yeah,
We'll be
like,
fine.
we're
Don't push their
we're
limits.
not picky. Like we're just trying to get the house.
But see, it's good to catch all those things because
Yeah.
you feel like, because it is a business transaction.
Yeah.
People do think, oh, okay, I don't want to kind of inconvenience them,
Yeah.
but they're selling a home and you're buying a home.
Yeah.
And you want to make sure you're getting your value.
Yeah.
And this is part of the process, and there's an inspection period and all these kinds of things. So back to the realtor commission. One of the things is, who pays the realtor? That's kind of why I essentially didn't want to get one when I was buying my house. But it's actually the seller who pays the realtor.
The seller who pays the real. Okay.
Yes.
The
Okay.
seller.
And they're paid off of commission.
Okay.
So only at closing. So they're willing to help you until you close.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and afterwards, hopefully.
Yeah.
And a good realtor, they offer a lot. They really do. Like they'll make sure that you don't miss anything in the contract. They'll make sure that you're meeting all your deadlines, because there is a lot of specific dates that you need to meet. You have an inspection period, only 10 days. And if you miss that and you don't ask anything, and on your 11th day you realize you're like, oh no, this is a deal breaker, you can now no longer back out without losing your binder. All these little things, they'll be on top of that, and they'll communicate with the title company, with the loan officers, to make sure that they're getting all the right paperwork done, that everyone's doing their job. That's the realtor's job, is to make sure everyone's doing their job for you to meet your closing deadline or sooner.
That's awesome.
So they do offer value. Good realtors.
Yeah.
I mean,
offer
just
value.
like sometimes Jericho would be like, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like texting down. I'm like, stop.
Yeah,
You keep asking
it
him.
would be 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night, and I would text him, and he would text me back.
Yeah, every
and
time.
then the next day, we'd go look at some more places, and then, no, I think that's like, a good realtor. Like, they would just drop what they're doing, and hey, yeah, let's
Help
go
you out.
look, let's go.
So the number one takeaway is just find a realtor and ask questions, right?
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah, definitely.
or
every
just,
question you have, just blurt it all out.
Yeah.
or
like,
just text Dan.
Well, the
Dan-
thing is,
Dan will
if
help
you
you
meet, so you guys, I apologize. You guys didn't get this treatment. I have a PowerPoint.
we missed out.
Presentation.
I apologize.
To answer all the questions beforehand?
Yes,
Okay.
pretty much like just to what to expect.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
What to expect, and it'll walk you through like how soon you could close. What do you do with the lender? What is the inspection period? What's in your contract? Like all these different
Just the
questions.
typical questions
He
everyone
probably
has.
created this PowerPoint after
After From all our questions.
But these are solid questions.
Like, dang it.
I would like try to compose like two questions into one. Like it would be like comma and then
Yeah.
another question, but there's only one question
Compound
mark.
questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
it's only one. It's only one.
Question one. Question
Um,
two.
So right now in Jax, is it buyers or sellers market? And explain that. Like, when does that happen? How often does it switch?
So
Is it switch? Is that another myth?
Yeah, so that's. I have some market stats for you guys.
Okay.
If you guys ready for
We're
that?
ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
So
Should I look
let's do this.
for another market, or should I look for another house?
Yes, always. So the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors, which is the NEFAR, which kind of governs all realtors, they put out stats on how houses are selling, what they're selling for, all this kind of stuff. And the most recent data available is September.
Okay.
So, and how they compare is they compare to the previous year, not to the previous month. You can compare to the previous month yourself, but they compare to the previous year because that just different. The real estate market, it has seasons as well. Like for example, winter will be slower than summer, and things like that. So these stats show that new listings have dropped 7%, and inventory fell, but prices continue to gain traction. So what this means is that even though there's less houses available on the market, the prices are still climbing from a year ago.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah. And this and a couple other things, like for the fact that here's a couple more stats. So an average house is on the market for 66 days, and that's the physical year.
Oh.
Yeah, so you list a
That's not
house.
long.
That's
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
That's really
so
fast.
2 months, and you're on
Your house
average,
is sold.
house is sold.
Wow.
And
I
this
mean, we bought our house like what they had their first showing, and we're like, we bought
I
it.
have no idea how long
for this one.
Yeah.
was on the market.
So no, this one I think it was like a week or so. It was
A
really
week?
fast.
Yeah,
And
I
then
know
it came
that
in
it was
really
fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as they listed.
yeah.
And that's taking into consideration the whole closing process.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like 33 days, for example, it's showing, and then like in your other 30
Wow.
30 days, 35.
That's Jacksonville.
Yeah, it's Jacksonville.
Okay.
Yeah. And so another stat is months supply of inventory. So from the last year, it went down 15% to 3.4 months. So what this means is that if all the houses that are currently out in the market, if no new houses enter the market, then what's available right now would sell out in 3.5 months. So all the houses would be sold, and there wouldn't be anything available in 3.5 months. So
Okay.
what that essentially means is that there isn't that much houses, so houses are selling.
Okay.
And this combination of stats, it is a seller's market, because in the last fiscal year, houses sellers are getting 95% of sellers are getting their asking price on homes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this shows that buyers are willing to buy houses, and sellers are getting what they're asking for, so they're
Yeah.
willing to sell houses.
Okay.
And so it is a seller's market. And houses are going well, and they're climbing in price. All these things are signs of a seller's market.
Okay.
But and the follow-up question is it still a good time to buy?
Yeah.
That's a natural follow-up question.
Oh, go ahead. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm just thinking like if the prices are gonna start continue to shoot up, I feel like that's why we bought it, because I felt like prices were
They're
gonna
just
be
gonna get more and more.
more out of reach. Like this same place would be like thousands of dollars more. It's like I might as well buy it now. It's like felt like that's why we were like, yeah, we need to do it, because I'm not trying to pay like $100,000 extra for this house that was $100,000 like last year. But obviously it's not that. That's a huge drastic change. But I was like, man, like that is why I was like, we need to get a place like now.
Yeah.
And so going from there, the fact that houses are climbing, and we talked about rent going up, shooting up 60. So that stat that I looked up, sorry guys, I'll backtrack to it. 65% it jumped up in the last 9 years.
It's crazy.
That's your
insane.
rent price increasing 65%. That is insane.
Yeah.
And that's just money like
Gone.
Exactly.
being
So
gone.
so guess how much a person's house who bought their house in 2011 on a fixed rate mortgage, guess how much his monthly payment went up on his mortgage? $0.
Yeah.
But rent
$0.
You're right. That's
But
true.
rent
Went
went
up.
up.
Went
Yeah.
up 65%.
So that's something that people, and guess how much your house will go up if you guys buy a house today and lock it in on a fixed rate mortgage in 9 years. How much will your house go up? Like your monthly payment is $0. But how much rent will go up? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's something to take into consideration.
Yeah.
So kind of going off of that, would sorry guys. So going off of that, one thing that really surprised me was like the interest and how much, like again, the numbers aspect of it.
Yeah.
How much people end up paying, right? Like what is that over the 30 years?
Yes. So it depends on how much of a mortgage you get. And so that's something to consider. People are like, okay, I'm going to pay double what I had if I take out a mortgage. But it's actually a little less. It depends on how much money you're taking out a loan for,
Right.
Yeah.
whether it's going to be double or not. But it is significantly more than what you're taking a loan for. But you have to consider the fact that someone's loaning you this amount of money for a very low interest rate, and if you were to rent, all of that money is going in the
Yeah.
garbage.
Gone,
You know,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's yes, you're having a house, but
Yeah.
here you're investing into your property that
Right.
then later has equity, and then you can
Mhm.
take out that equity or sell the house. So you have, even if it is, for example, let's take that number that you're double, at least half of your monthly payment is going towards paying off your house.
Yeah.
If we're going to take the double, and that's an
Mhm.
exaggeration. So yeah, that's something to consider. So to answer the question of whether it's still worth buying, I say completely yes, because the interest rates are still low.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, but it's a blanket answer. You
Mhm.
can't say that you should buy or shouldn't buy, because why are you buying a house?
Yeah.
You know, what goes into it? Do you actually need to buy a house? If you need to buy a house, you probably need to buy a house.
Yeah.
You know, but the numbers behind it, you have to consider how much. The important thing is that you're not paying more than you can afford.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. And even if you can, and that's another myth, I guess we're going to go to myths. People think that if I got approved for $300,000, I have to buy a $300,000
Yeah.
house.
Yeah, no. Like,
Which is not true.
No.
You know,
No.
like everyone's like, oh, okay, that's maximum. Got to go for the maximum.
yeah, no.
And no, like go for what you can afford, what's
Mhm.
comfortable for you.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I know Dave Ramsey says 15-year mortgages.
Yeah.
My bit on that is we have a 15-year on one and 30 on our other house.
Mhm.
And we have a 30 on one of our houses, but we try to make extra payments.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we want that security if things do get financially
Yeah.
tight, to have the option
Yeah.
to make a 30.
Right.
Yeah, that's why we also went with the
That's-
30,
yeah.
just because of that, you know.
The goal
you
is
the
to pay it off
flexibility.
The
sooner.
flexibility.
Yeah.
But you can always prepay.
Yeah.
And
do you recommend that? Do you
prepay?
recommend? Yeah.
definitely, because
Yeah.
it goes straight to principal. And I mean,
What is principal? So,
So
like
princi-
elementary
yes,
here.
Yes. So you have principal and interest. So interest is paying off interest for you having that loan,
Mhm.
and principal goes directly towards your loan amount. So if you
Okay.
took out $100,000, if you pay $1,000 towards principal, you now owe 99. It goes directly towards your loan amount.
Okay.
And so that will decrease the amount of time it takes you to pay off your loan. So every month, for example, if you add a couple $100,
Mhm.
it goes directly towards paying off your loan, which ends up cutting your time
Yes.
drastically, actually.
So what's kind of like the minimum amount you would recommend paying extra? Like at least like $100, like that helps, or
Whatever
that
you
doesn't
can
help.
afford.
I mean, does that
yeah,
help?
whatever you can afford, right?
Whatever you
Just
can
throw
afford, but
towards
if
it.
you're able to do one extra payment a year, so instead
Okay.
of 12, 13, that's
Uh-huh.
great.
Okay.
It's going to save you years,
Okay.
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't that it,
No,
it saves you like how
Yeah,
many years?
yeah,
There was
so Dan actually has this Excel sheet, and it shows you just plug in the numbers, and if you want to make extra payment, it'll show you how many years you cut off of your loan.
Okay,
which is
so if you
amazing.
want this Excel list, message us and
Yeah,
Dan will
we'll
send it to you.
Because no, like really, like you can see how much you'll pay in interest over the 30 years if you just paid the minimum. Like
Yeah.
if, you know, the
How much
fixed.
was ours? Do you remember? It was a like we were like
I think we were like
whoa.
$300,000. You know, like
Of total, like your
Yeah,
principal
like
and your
total.
interest. Okay.
you know,
like
so that's like double
dou-
the house. You know, the
More
house
than
itself.
double.
So
Yeah,
I was like,
like-
yeah, we definitely need to make more payments on the house because then we can cut. You know that.
the interest.
Yeah, so we save like essentially,
And it goes
$100,000.
directly into it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So
It
that
saves
that
you a lot.
Excel sheet, yeah, it's definitely a big
Like
game
eye
changer.
opener. Like you
Yeah.
just realize how much money you're just if you
Yeah,
just pay the
okay.
bare minimum.
Yeah, if you're
it's
buying
like,
a $150,000 house, but after 30 years, after interest, you know, you're paying $300,000. It's like, yeah,
But see, even in that case, though,
Yeah.
that's money
Yes.
that you're paying for your house.
Exactly.
That's something that
That's-
you have to take
for
into
sure.
consideration.
for
Mhm.
sure.
You know? But yes, I definitely, if you're able to make prepayments,
Yeah,
I recommend it. But see,
Mhm.
some people, they have the money to make 15-year payments,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then on top of that,
Mhm.
and if you know yourself that you're not disciplined,
yeah.
and you have the money, I say go for the 15-year, because then it'll kind of force you
Force
to do it.
you
to
You
do
know?
it.
Yeah,
But
but
if you're-
everyone's different.
Yeah, everyone's
situ-
different. Yeah.
But we do suggest just look at the just look at the interest and see how much you're losing. You know, like that's just money going to.
But
to
is
them,
that
to
something
them.
that's standard for a realtor to explain to their clients?
Nobody explained to me, but
Yeah.
but I think that's part of the value that a realtor can offer you,
Yeah.
honestly. Like, and even more so than that, like I like to recommend insurance agents that have given me a good deal.
Yeah.
Like inspectors. I don't get anything from that, but just the network. These guys are solid guys. Why am I going to tell you, hey, open up the phone book and search, and who knows what kind of job they'll
There's
do.
no phone book anymore.
Yeah, phone book.
It's all Google
Come on now.
It's
Come
a
on,
it's a phrase.
Don't show your age.
Phone book.
Well,
What's a phone book? Yellow
I'm
pages?
just kidding.
Okay.
I said that.
Google.
I said that the other day, and he made fun of me, so
Yeah.
I get to do it to you now.
Yeah. Christina pulled up the phone book. I'm like, what phone book are you talking about? Like, you remember they used to drop them off at the door?
I asked if phone books still exist. He's like, why? There's Google. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Everything's on Google now. Like, I'm surprised like Yellow Pages, like the website is still around. I don't
So,
even know
like,
if it's still
I didn't
around.
even know.
Why did you guys? So you mentioned you have 2 homes. Why did you decide to? You rented out one, bought another?
Yeah.
Okay.
So-
What made that decision? And is that something you like for us? Like, we bought a home. At some point, should we rent this out if we want to, or should we sell?
I
Like,
think yes.
yeah. Okay.
My personal view on that is that real estate is just all these wealthy folks out here. They all got real estate.
That's true.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
and
true.
so my thing is, if it cannot be a burden for you, if you rent it out and break even,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because someone else is paying out your
Yeah.
investment.
Yeah,
Right.
Totally.
That's just that's flat out.
Mm-hmm.
But we got lucky. Like I said, we bought a house that needed a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore we had equity, and we were able to make a couple $100 on our house.
Okay.
Nice.
So while we were able to rent it out, and I'm like, okay, so this was my thinking, that if I'm able to make some money here, I could afford another house, and have that money cover this, and my payment doesn't change.
Yeah.
So that was our thinking, and we upgraded to nicer neighborhood and a bigger house, because we actually have now not 1 kid but 3.
Oh, okay. So
So,
that's another thing I want to talk about. So Dan, not only is he a realtor, but you also took on the role as like stay at home dad. Like, you
dad.
work from home. Realty allows you to do that. So did you ever think you would be a stay at home dad?
I did not. No.
And like a little backstory. So I'm Russian, and so, are you considered Russian, Ukrainian? What are you?
I'm
Slavic?
from Estonia, but yeah, Slavic.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
So it's not typical for our people,
for sure.
for the man to stay home. I'm sure that was something that you didn't see coming, right? So how has that, like, realty allowed you to do that, and that's something that, like, is awesome, that you love about it?
Yeah, so it was definitely like looked down on, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
mean, I can imagine that's
oh,
hard.
You know, like,
I mean,
why,
Jericho's a stay-at-home dad, so I'm all
'cause he's the
for
man.
it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah,
Like, I applaud you. It's hard, I know, because I was stay-at-home mom at one point. He does it now, so like.
But I only have 1 kid.
Yeah.
And he's in
Dan has
school.
3.
He's in school all day now. So.
Yeah, and they're small, man.
Yeah, Dan
so
has
they're
like
running. So
3
you
under
run,
6,
Under 5.
under
But you-
10, 3 under 5.
So you're a realtor, and then you also have your lighting job.
Yeah.
And then you have 3 kids. And then you're still a husband. And you still do stuff at church.
Yeah.
And so it's like, dude, I'm running out of fingers here. Like, I can't hold the microphone anymore. Like, how do you keep up with all? Like.
But how
that's-
has
that's
that,
awesome,
like,
man.
has that made you want to do realty, like, more, less? Like,
Oh, I'd love to do real estate full time.
yeah.
And that's my end goal, is to transition into that.
Okay.
And but being a stay-at-home dad, that was something that we kind of decided while I was going to school originally. So I was like I said, I was working on my bachelor's degree, and Neo had just become a hygienist,
Mm-hmm.
dental hygienist. Then we were pregnant, and we found out, and we're like, all right, we got to do something. Are you going to go to work? And she had the higher paying job at that time. So it was easy for us to make that decision. And Neo actually didn't want to stay home.
Yeah.
She wanted to go to work.
That was me. After 2 years, I'm like, babe,
But
can
I
I go
feel-
to work?
I feel like the first 2 years are like hard.
Yeah.
Like.
It was like from day one, though.
Yeah.
Neo was like, what,
Yeah.
6, I don't know, 9 weeks or something like that. And she was
Yeah.
gone. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe it was more.
But like, real estate is one of those jobs that allows you to do that. So like, you could have just been like, I don't want to work, I'll just stay home. You work, but like, this allowed you to bring in income and share that
After
role.
the kids went to sleep, you were,
Up
Yeah,
making-
that's nap time is the productive time.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. Yeah.
Nap time and
I remember
bedtime.
that,
And
yeah.
I mean, honestly, Neo helps like crazy too. You know, she comes home, and the fact that she works only during the morning time, she's like home by like 1 p.m. or so.
Okay.
And it just allows us to honestly have a lot of time to spend with the kids.
Yeah.
And the reason I wanted to, at first, like, you know, growing up or whatever, and when we first got married, I didn't really think about this. But when I had my kids, I definitely wanted to invest in them and like have the ability to just I'm the one that influences them.
Yeah.
And that was just really important to me. So I honestly loved staying at home. And it was great the first year, the second year, third year. And like as you get more kids, it becomes a little more difficult.
Well, duh. That's just math.
I mean, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, we have
Our other two kids are a turtle and a fish. You know, Kai thinks he wants a bunny here soon, so we'll have 4 kids. You know? Yeah.
But yeah, so it like takes a toll.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's so rewarding.
Of course,
Like,
yeah.
It's
for sure.
awesome. And I love it. And the fact that I am able to do real estate and lighting from home is just so flexible. And the day and age we work. Like,
I know.
everything-
Like I said,
you're able to work from home. That's so
Yeah.
that's
amazing.
why I tell people, you know, like you don't have to settle. You know, there's so many opportunities. You don't have to be a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
You don't have to do videos. You can be, you know, real estate. You can do, you know, you can cook from home. You can.
Yeah.
There's just so much with
do
the
you think-
technology.
Do you think there's more females or males in the real estate? Like
I think females.
females, really?
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe that's
At least
something.
my experience. Most of the agents I run into. are
Really?
females. Maybe they're just the better ones that are selling homes. I don't know.
That's interesting.
Well,
I don't
So-
know this. I haven't looked up the stats,
Oh, okay.
but just in my interactions,
Yeah.
I've probably seen more females
Okay.
for sure. And even in my real estate class, there was
a
like,
lot more.
There was like 3 guys.
Maybe
and
that
like, the
correlates
rest
with
were
the
girls.
flexible schedules, being moms and being able to
Very
handle
possible.
like being involved in the lives. You know, like I mean, it's awesome that like you could have, like I said, just decided to stay home. Like there are people that just can just stay home and raise their children, you know, and
Yeah.
but being able
But-
to do something on
Yeah.
the side to
For
help.
sure.
Not settle, you know.
Yeah,
like,
like
I think
going
that's gonna
ahead
be the
and-
slogan of the podcast.
Don't say.
Don't
Don't
settle.
settle.
Yeah.
Like, don't settle. You know, like once you settle, then it's like there's just way too much opportunity. We live in America.
For
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
There's
So grateful
just-
for that.
There's just like other
Hey,
countries, you know, like
Christine,
the
we're glad our
Philippines,
parents made
you
it
know?
out.
I
I mean,
know,
come on.
like-
You know?
Like,
I don't know where we would be if we'd still be if I'd be in Russia.
you too, Jericho.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
You're
Like,
an immigrant.
in the Philippines, like it's crazy out
Yeah.
there. You know, like we don't have this. Like I have AC.
That's
You know, like,
Simple things.
I have AC. You know, it's like I could turn the AC on. Like when I was living, or like when we were visiting the Philippines, they didn't have central AC.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have
things we take for granted.
We didn't have indoor plumbing, indoor bathrooms. We had to go to the well,
Okay.
take showers. So, just saying, we're grateful for that.
So like, can anyone do what you do? Like be a real estate agent? You think like, are there certain like criterias or like, I don't know,
You have to be driven.
driven?
Mhm.
Okay. Cause it is like,
I feel
you're
like-
running your own business.
Yeah.
Like
I
it's,
feel like you also have to be a people person.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're not, what's it called? Easy. You know, if you're like,
yeah. Cause you have to like do
rude.
a lot of like
you have to
chit chat.
adapt. You have
Yeah.
to
Be
adapt
able to
and
adapt.
understand your clientele. Like
Okay.
you'll have like one couple and they'll look into the house and like it just doesn't feel right, or
Mhm.
the walls aren't painted a certain color and they already don't like the house.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a person like, give me the numbers, you know, and,
Yeah.
and you have to be able to do both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because some people are like, no, but doesn't it just feel great? Like, don't you just love this house? Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's way overpriced, you know?
It's cool in here. I don't know.
So you have to be able to see what the client is
Okay.
looking for
Yeah.
and what's important to them, and gear like the information and
Yeah.
what you
Towards
bring
that.
So you're
towards them,
you're
towards them.
tailoring
Yeah.
everything you're
Okay.
doing to the client's needs. But that comes with like being a good realtor, you know. So
And maybe
That's
somebody
cool.
that's thinking about doing it. Like, what's your piece of advice to someone considering it?
Yeah, I say go for it. Like
Yeah.
houses are selling, and I mean it's worth trying out. You just have to have the drive and build like different spheres of influence. And this is honestly where I'm still growing.
Mhm.
Like definitely still growing in my client base and everything. And it's just going out there and doing the things that make you uncomfortable.
yeah,
And
like this podcast.
this podcast,
you,
yeah.
know what I'm gonna tell you right now is you better go home and start one. I'm just telling like everyone should start a podcast because it's just a great way to get so much information and provide so much people with value. Like, you know, people are gonna listen to this. Hey, I bought my first house because it wasn't that scary.
Honestly, it's
You
not.
know?
It's not that bad. It's like most people, what they fear is the unknown.
Yeah.
Yes.
And once you make it like attainable, the goal is
Mhm.
attainable and everything clear, then it's like not so scary. It's like, oh, that's why so much people have houses.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's doable,
true.
you know? And as long as you know what to expect, it's not scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we did have some questions from Instagram for you.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one is tips on buying a house when self-employed. So again, this was one of our questions because Jericho was self-employed.
So you need 2 years at least of steady income.
Okay.
And they're going to average those 2 years. So
Okay.
they're not even going to take just your last year, but they're going to average those last 2 years.
And if you're married and your spouse has an income, does that vary that
yes.
situation?
So you can do joint income, or you could, for example, just do your spouse's, whichever is easier for you to get the loan that you're working for. That's what your lender's going to recommend.
And that's, through the lender. Okay.
Yeah. So they might recommend, for example, you've only been doing the business for a couple of years. It's not right. It would just be more complicated and possibly have more, I guess, questions come up during the whole process, and better just to do the one person's income. But yeah, so self-employed, do your taxes and
do your taxes, or the IRS is gonna get you.
Legit, because you have to
quote Dan on that. Do your taxes, people.
Because you have to show that you have income. Because you
Yeah.
have to show that you're bringing in income, and last 2 years average.
Okay,
That's what they're going to say.
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question: does having a big down payment help?
It does, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
So the bigger your down payment, the smaller, of course, is going to be your monthly payments. Yeah. And if you, for example, on a VA loan, there's no mortgage insurance, which is awesome. But on most homes, if you don't put at least 20% down, you have mortgage insurance.
Yes.
And so you can get rid of that in 2 different ways. You could refinance your house once you have more than 20% equity, or you could pay off your original loan up to 20%. So like loan to value ratio, and pay off the first 20%, and then you could request for them to drop the mortgage insurance.
Okay.
So yes, down payment definitely helps, and the more down payment, then you could possibly get lower interest rate. All that plays into
so
that.
Again, just talk to your realtor about those numbers.
Talk to your realtor, yeah. And
like,
your lender's gonna help you.
Like,
with,
be honest.
with
be
this.
like, look, I have this much.
Yeah.
Should I bring it? Should I not? Like, is that kind of how the conversation goes?
Yes. What they have available, the realtor will then be able to, I guess, help them to make a wise decision, because some people will think, oh no, I have to put everything into my down payment. No, because then the lender will look to make sure that you can make at least your first 2 payments. That has to be taken into consideration. There's also closing costs. There's inspections, appraisals, all these kind of other factors. So it's not just your down payment. So you have to see where your money goes, and then the comfortable rest of it could go into your actual down payment.
So something, you said something, and it reminded me that when we were looking for our house, like, I was kind of scared to be like, oh, I don't like this about this, and feeling like it might offend you, or like we wasted your time, but like you would rather people tell you.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I want this, I don't like this.
Yeah, because
right?
then you could cater specifically towards their needs. I mean,
or from your contract experience, you can be like, okay, well, that can be easily taken care of, right? Like, so
for sure,
it's not always a deal breaker for certain situations.
Like some people, they're like, oh, I want a fixer-upper, and then you come in like, oh, this carpet's so bad. And you're like, what are you talking about?
I already knew Christina wasn't going to do the whole fixer-upper thing. She said, I cannot live in a house without a bathroom. She said that. I was like, okay, well, we're not going to do the fixer-upper. Maybe one day, like, I think we could do it now that we have this, and maybe buy another place and do a fixer-upper.
But
we
needed a place. We had to move quick. Like we said, we were running out. Our rent that lease was being...
Yeah,
and it depends how valuable your personal time is. For example, if you're saving more money by fixing your own house, then do it.
Yeah.
But if you're making more money then do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're giving up something to fix your own house.
Yeah.
So that's always has to be taken into consideration. And houses, even if a house isn't completely, like something's broken into, a handle's off, all that can then during the inspection period be found, and then even negotiated into the price or ask them to fix it. So like those little things that you feel like, oh, that I don't want to mention it, but I don't like this house. It's much better just to tell your agent everything up front, what you like, what you don't like,
even like silly little things, or
go for it, because like some things they'll be able to at least provide you an answer. I think, because you can't, if you turn down a house because you don't like the fan, then that's just interesting. But they might think, oh man, changing a fan must be so expensive, all the electrical work. You might have to take out a permit. No, you don't. So the unknown
having
is
the
what scares people.
Like for me, mine was just like the AC needs to work. And because this is a 2-story home, like that was a big concern for me. I was like, the AC, I know I've lived in 2-story, upstairs always hot, but that's where you sleep. I cannot sleep in the
You
heat.
cannot.
I do
Me,
not
I'm
function
good.
well. I
Yeah.
will wake up 100 times.
Yeah.
And so I was like, Dan, the AC. And he's like, okay, during inspection. And like during
Yeah,
inspection,
make sure
they
that-
did check it. It worked. It's great. It's
been-
fine.
it's
It
been
was a brand new
working
unit.
ever
Like
since
it's,
we've been.
so I'm happy.
Yeah.
But again, like
Questions.
just communication.
For
yeah. Bring it up.
For sure. Let
Okay.
them answer. Let them do their job.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, oh, I don't want to overwhelm them. No, that's honestly our job.
Yeah.
That's the realtor's job, is
Okay.
to find out as much information as they can for you, and to help you make a wise decision. That's essentially why they're there.
Okay. So kind of weird going off here a little bit. But when we bought the house, like right after closing, I looked at Jericho. I was like, maybe we should have met the neighbors before we signed. Just like, to me, like the house can be great. I mean, we have great neighbors. We got really lucky.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, that could be a big deal breaker. Like you move in and you have no idea, like you have rowdy neighbors or like, you know, I don't know. Like, is there a way to, have you had anybody want to ask to meet neighbors?
I haven't.
No?
Honestly, that's the first one on me.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's something Christina thinks. I don't think
Yeah.
about that stuff. I'm like,
But it's like, if we're going to live here.
yeah, but if the neighbors are next door, I'm just gonna close my doors. I'm gonna lock it.
No, but if
you
they're
know?
like, if they party consistently
Yeah.
and you know, or like,
I just feel like this area is not like a party area.
it's not, but I mean, you never
See,
know what
yeah,
your
you never
neighbors
know.
are like. And that's
Yeah.
kind of important if you have kids and they're outside playing.
But I do recommend driving through the neighborhood both
Mhm.
during the day and at night.
just
Yeah.
checking it out.
Yeah.
We did that.
We did?
Well, I
During-
did.
I didn't.
I drove
Not at
during
night.
the day. No, not at night, but like
During the
At
day
least
we
after,
did.
you know, like to see, to
Yeah.
get
Scope
the,
it out.
the
get
real
the
feel of it,
Yeah.
you know? And just to make sure, you know,
No, I
like
love
some
this place.
areas.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love
Yeah.
our neighbors. We have great neighbors. But like, that was just a thought that crossed my mind. I was like, oh man, like
That's the first
we
one.
just signed
Christina
it.
always has these.
That's the first one. But
I
I
have-
have met, like, usually you'll see the neighbors like kind of like peeking out. Oh, someone's showing a house. Who's gonna be my new neighbor? You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
I've
didn't have to do
definitely
that.
had that like multiple times.
Oh,
You're going to show a
really?
house and they're like, "Hey, y'all buying? Y'all moving in?" You know.
Yeah.
So people, the neighbors themselves will come out. So that's a great
Yeah.
opportunity to meet them
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there and see what
That's
they're
true.
about.
Okay. So another question: does anyone pay in cash anymore?
They do.
Like full, like the whole amount?
Like the whole amount.
Okay.
Some people,
Ballin', yeah. I
some
mean,
people,
it's-
yeah. And honestly, people, this is kind of interesting. Cash is still king.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting.
Even in real estate.
Well, yeah, you'd save like in all the interest. You wouldn't.
Yeah,
have to-
there's
so much money.
way less closing costs. Way
really?
less closing
Okay.
costs. Yeah,
Oh.
because a lot of closing costs come from like lender fees and things like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that's true.
But there's just less things that you have to do for a cash sale. And some people just like the sellers like the assurance that you have the cash.
Yeah.
So it's a guaranteed sale.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have the contract, the inspection goes good, it's a guaranteed sale. They're not dependent on your credit checking out and everything like that.
Mhm.
So they're like, okay, cash, cool, it's guaranteed. I'll even probably go down a little bit, you know,
Yeah.
and cash is still king.
So there are benefits. Cash is king.
Mm-hmm. One last question. What's one thing most people don't know about what you do?
People don't know what we do.
That's a great answer.
If they did, then
Then
more
they'd
people would be
ask
buying.
questions. People would buy. You
Yeah.
know, it is a very mystical thing. Like,
Uh-huh.
what do realtors even do?
Yeah.
We're supposed to do everything to make sure everything is smooth for the buyer or the seller.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll advertise your house. We'll do open houses. You know, we'll give you all the information. We'll help you find the right lender for you for your situation. You know,
Mhm.
make sure that your inspector is reputable. You know, and see that you get a good quote on your insurance. Everything. Like they'll look up the little details. I mean, they should or they could.
Yeah.
The little details of your HOA. Like any
Mhm.
questions, what's covered. You know,
Yeah.
like honestly, for them to do the research, and it's just someone partnering in you and buying a house to make
Mhm.
sure you have a smooth transaction. That's what
Like,
realtors
why would you
do.
not want that?
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be no way I
We
would be able
wouldn't-
to buy a home without without.
There
you
was
there.
some
And the
piece of
contract is
papers-
pretty big.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. This is bad. You read the whole thing. I said,
We
Dan,
trusted
I
Dad.
trust you so much, man.
And when I
just let
send
me-
over to sign, I
Yeah.
give bullet points
Yeah,
of the
he did.
of the
Everything.
things. Everything that has like a little initials
Like-
or like in bold.
he even sends it
I'll summarize it for you.
in the text, right? Like Dan sends it, and he just here's everything in the contract that's super important. I'm like, all right, cool, man. And I just signed my life away.
No, there was one time he sent something and I was like, I'm going to actually read this. And I got like through like the third line. I was like, Dan, what's this mean? Break
Yeah.
this down. Like,
and I've actually read the whole thing.
Yeah, and there's like some like hundreds of pages, right? I think like especially
it-
dealing with the VA, there was like 150.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
With the loan, there's a lot of pages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like,
we signed a lot of
wow,
papers too
this is
at
a lot.
closing.
So
But closing was like, I thought that would take longer too. I was
that
like,
took
whoa,
like 30
we're
minutes.
done?
And
Yeah.
it was funny.
like
We
closed.
closed on a day we had to go shoot a wedding.
Yeah, so we closed in the morning, and then we went and shot a wedding.
Yeah.
And actually, Dan came to the wedding site and handed
Dropped
us our
the first
keys because the seller didn't close until
Yeah, they
later
closed
that
at different
day.
Yeah,
times.
so yeah,
We didn't do
wouldn't-
it together.
We couldn't close with the seller.
Yeah.
We had to go shoot a wedding.
But like,
And
Dan was awesome.
that's
He went
another-
above and beyond for us.
I appreciate
And he got us a smart lock. So I don't know if anyone. Oh, we probably take that out. He's gonna have past clients say, "Where's my smart? Where's my smart
does
lock?"
that come in?
Does that come with it?
Is that a new package
No,
you're
no.
offering?
Is that part of your package?
Dan just really knew that was something Jericho wanted.
Because I guess
and
I kept
talked
talking about it, and like that's what people do. People who can read, how people interact. Like
Yeah.
you're just gonna go.
Gotta pick up on the
understand
cues.
it. You have to pick up on little things.
Yeah.
Me, I'm probably didn't even mention it probably like a handful of times, or I kept talking about the Nest thermostat too. I was
Yeah.
like, that was the
Oh yeah,
coolest
the
thing ever.
house came with
I'm
it.
not gonna lie, I use it all the time. I tell
Yeah.
Google, hey Google, set temperatures to 80 degrees, and it.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I don't
y'all.
ever have to
80
get up,
degrees when
you
I'm
know.
not here.
And then I have it set on a
What
schedule
does your
now.
house stay at?
No place like home. He remembers the Philippines.
What is your house?
He wants the option for AC.
what
Doesn't
does
he has
your
to use it?
temperature stay at?
So it used to always be 76,
Okay.
but our newest baby, youngest one, she likes it cold.
What?
So like she legit sleeps better when it's cold.
And
So
hey,
we keep
hey,
it now
baby
73.
sleeps? We're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
73?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what it's
See,
set right now because
It
See,
used to be
cold.
76, 77.
sleep-
Now it's 73, 72 sometimes. Like
we sleep
just
like
get her to sleep.
74 days, like 76 if I'm home. He keeps it at 80.
I do like. Well, that's just during the day because when I go outside, then I'm not. You're already
Not as
acclimated.
hot.
Yeah.
I'm not as hot, so I don't
Smooth transition.
know. Yeah, exactly. And I feel like if I go from 70 inside to 100 outside during the summer, it's like
Yeah.
instant
Drastic.
sweat, drastic. So, how can they get in contact with you if they wanted to?
Is there email or what's
Yeah,
best?
Facebook, Instagram.
My email is pretty easy.
Email, okay.
Email.
Dansellsjax@gmail.com.
Dansellsjax. So we'll put that
At
in
what?
the description.
Dansellsjax@gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
So we'll put that
yeah.
in the description. We'll link you up, and then
Boom.
hopefully,
Yeah, any questions? Honestly, it's not a scary process if you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so like, okay, so they email you a question. They're not like, they don't have to
Yeah,
go
you're
through
not
you,
obligated,
right? Okay,
like,
so
you
like
know?
that's another thing. It's like, you don't want to like, oh crap, now I got to really go with him. I don't know,
Like, if you have questions, feel free.
Yeah.
You know,
Dan's
it's-
not gonna hunt you down to like, hey,
Where are
you sent
you?
me an email. You better buy a house from me.
You
No.
owe me.
No, it's not like that. Yeah, I think he's just like us. Like we just like to help people, and
Yeah.
and just we don't expect
That's why he's on
anything
the
in return.
podcast
Yeah.
because
He wouldn't be here if
giving
he
his
was.
time. I
yeah.
mean, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
we
he could
didn't
be
think.
home doing other things right now. So
Yeah.
thank you. Is there anything else that you had? I know you had some notes. Anything else you want to tell people or share?
Your experience on the podcast was it that?
It was
bad?
good. I guess my tips is to see for people, like the first step I think in buying a house, what I check if I was looking at a house is what I'm paying for rent and how much house I can afford for that.
Yeah.
That'd just be the first step.
Those
Those
what I
are
did.
totally two different things,
Yeah.
owning and renting.
Mm-hmm.
And when you own, usually people are getting houses that are, like something more custom to them versus rent is like something usually temporary.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But another thing about that is don't look for your dream house. Don't expect your first house to be your dream house. And that's okay.
Mhm.
And don't feel like you're settling.
Yeah.
Like we bought our first house because that worked for us then and we could afford it then.
Mm-hmm.
And then because we did that, we were able to upgrade instead of foreclosing on a house
And
we
how
couldn't
long
afford.
how long was that when you guys upgraded?
I felt like it was quick. I felt like y'all bought a
Yeah.
house and then bought another house.
how long did you live in that house? The first house. It was like
3 years?
Yeah.
2-3 years?
Yeah, I felt like it was
It
like
was
short
quick.
and like, oh, we're buying another house. I'm like, all right,
Like,
you go on with your
okay.
bad self.
It just it just made sense, And honestly, it's the numbers. I like the numbers.
Yeah.
And if the numbers make sense for you, that's
Mm-hmm.
what it comes down to. What are you going to be paying? What are your monthly payments? Not just your mortgage, everything that comes into it.
And then other than obviously price, like you need to know would like narrowing it down to a zip code, a school zone, like what kind of what do you need to figure out?
Where where you are in life. Some
Okay.
people are super big on schools.
Yeah, that
and
was
some
us.
people are retired and don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
So
if they don't care, what kind of helps you find their spot? Like
usually people provide me an area
okay
that they want to
do.
live in. Yeah, they'll give me. I'll pull up Google Maps, they'll
Mhm.
circle it, and they're like,
Yeah.
I want to stay in here.
Okay.
And if something's super great, then I'll move here. And they'll give me like their top 2-3 little
Okay.
circles on Google Maps, and then I'll send them everything that's available from there in their price range or their square footage or 2-story, 1-story, whatever their preference are, bedrooms,
Mhm.
whatever it is. You can narrow it down, very specific, and put you on something that will, automatically send you the newest listings that match your criteria.
Awesome.
So then you can check at your leisure and not
Mhm.
expecting, Dan, having a call from Dan. Hey, I got these 5 housings. You want to go see it?
Oh, yeah, like you were sending us links and
we
pictures.
were doing it
looking
on our
all,
own time.
Yeah, it
I
was
was laying
so
in bed,
easy.
like, this looks cool. And then I would just hit a heart,
Or it was a
favorite
star.
it, or a star.
star.
I would star it,
Yeah.
and then we'd
And then Dan would be like,
see
okay,
it, and then he would set
these are
up.
the times available for the walkthrough,
Yep,
and it
exactly.
was super easy.
And then
Super easy.
whatever you star, people will show their favorites, and then we'll schedule them and go do the walkthroughs. Sometimes some homes need 24 hours, 48 hours for, just to if they're lived in, usually.
Mhm.
If they're
Clean
not
it up a
vacant.
little, hide the dead bodies, and, the holes in the wall and stuff like that.
So then you just schedule it around those people, but honestly, don't feel like you're inconveniencing your realtor
Mhm.
with scheduling more than one house.
Okay.
It's much better.
And then if you have children, like doing a walkthrough, bring them, don't bring them, like kind of like just in your
It's-
experience, does it
I think
does
it's
it matter?
fine.
Like we brought Kai along, and he fell in love with every house we brought him
he
to.
wanted the master in every
No,
single.
it needed a landing pad?
the landing pad.
landing pad up
Stairs.
the stairs. As long as the house had that, he was good. He said, "Buy it."
I think it's fine if people
fine?
bring kids,
Okay.
honestly, because that way you can envision yourself there.
Mhm.
And I guess one thing I'd say, we've been talking a lot about the buyers. One thing I'd say to the sellers, when you're selling your house, don't try to leave as much personal stuff out of it.
Don't try to.
No, try to leave it out. Like
Oh.
move all your pictures, everything, at least for the showings.
Okay.
I know people get slightly offended about that, but when you have all your stuff in a house, people can't envision their stuff in the house.
They see that
Yes.
person.
Got it.
And I've
Okay.
noticed
Psychology.
in most cases, if things are clean,
Mhm.
like the house shows so much better.
Wow.
Yeah.
So much better.
I'm not
Versus
gonna
like
lie.
pictures of the wall, everything.
Mhm.
It just gives a different vibe to the
Yeah.
person.
Oh, for
and
sure.
and I'll have people, like I'll show a house and they're like, I feel like I'm intruding in someone's house.
Yeah,
Because
with
they
all
have
their
so much of
personal-
the
It's true.
personal
Yeah,
belongings.
yeah.
But
It's true.
vacant houses show much better, or staged houses. Staged or
Okay.
vacant, they show just so much better. But if you live in a house, and most people do when they sell, that's totally normal. I just say put away at least most of your personal things, if possible.
And magnets. I heard that was a thing.
On the kitchen,
Yeah,
on the fridge,
on the
and
fridge.
all the postcards and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. If
I
you
was
can,
reading something
you know?
about just clean it up, clean up your fridge, take
Yeah,
everything
you make
off of
everything like hide everything you can, and just so they can imagine their stuff in it
Yeah.
instead of seeing your stuff.
and
'cause
your
they
style
automatically-
and
yeah,
stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because this could have been like older people living in it, and
Yeah.
we'd be like, oh, I
It would
don't
have just
like
gotten
it,
a
but
different feel.
yeah,
Yeah.
but in reality, like none of that stays when
Yeah,
you
it
move
was,
in.
it was
Exactly.
weird. Like as
You
soon
don't
as,
get. You usually don't get the
Yeah.
house. And
as
I'm
soon
saying
as we
usually.
walked in, I was like, "Yo, this is a nice spot."
Yeah.
Like I can envision myself here because everything was put away.
Yeah.
Like I can envision like
It was
our couch
clean,
could
lots
be
of
there.
light color
I could-
walls.
yeah,
It was
it
nice
is-
to see all that too.
Yeah, it definitely
Very
helped.
neutral.
Yeah.
It
Mhm.
just attracts a lot more buyers.
It's true.
So do people usually, once they go to sell their house, like paint walls to like if they have like certain bedrooms that are like for
They
kids?
don't, but they probably should.
They should. Okay, it's something to think
I feel,
about.
I feel like they did like a lot of little
fixed some things.
minor things. I felt like this is a brand new floor because they left like the tags on there too. So
Oh, nice.
it's like I don't know, like people. I mean, I still haven't taken the tag off, but
Keep
So
that
I don't know,
resale value.
maybe they installed it like a year ago and they still
But
haven't
that's
taken it off.
something just to
but
think about, like if you have like a nursery with pink walls,
Yeah,
maybe
it
the
would
buyer,
definitely appeal to more buyers.
yeah, because maybe the buyer doesn't have kids,
Yeah.
and they'd be like pink walls.
yeah.
Just neutral everything. But I mean, I don't know. It depends. And then someone will come in with a kid.
Yeah,
And they're like,
they
oh,
want it.
perfect.
Yeah,
Already
don't
have a
have to paint
nursery.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways. But for the majority, neutral things and things
Okay.
put away.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's my tidbit to sellers.
Yeah.
I think that is all the questions we have, right?
Awesome.
I'm sure I can come up with more.
I'm sure Christina can come up with a million more, but we don't want to make this podcast
No.
way too long.
Yeah, thank you,
But
Dan.
thanks for coming out,
Thank you
and
for
I
having
hope
me.
you enjoyed it. And I hope
Yeah.
everyone, learned something
Yeah,
that
took a
buying a
little
house
bit.
isn't as scary as you thought. Like I thought it was super scary.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone, I mean, like I said, if we can do it of anything,
It's possible.
anyone can do
in
it.
the middle of like a busy wedding season.
Yeah.
Like we said, we closed on a wedding day. Like Dan made it happen, that aligned the times for us and stuff. So again, communicate with your realtor. If you have something
Sure.
to do that day, like let them know. Be like, hey,
Yeah.
is it possible to move something? That if not, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, but you know, just being open with your realtor.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do all realtors text like you do nowadays?
It's a different age. I hope they do. You have
Yeah.
to catch on, right?
Yeah. I mean, that
So-
was like one of my favorite things. I'm like, I don't have to like keep checking my email or like constant phone calls.
It's
Like if
honestly
we're-
more convenient for me too.
Yeah.
You know, it's instant
No,
and
for sure. Like we can be anywhere and being like, oh, okay, Dan sent something. We gotta like step away and do it real quick. Like
Yeah,
it was so
instant
nice.
breezy. But all right, well, we'll see
Cool.
you guys on the next podcast.
Yeah.
alrighty.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.